Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Step Zone channel. Notice anything different about my background? If you do, it's because I have moved, and it really was not a small move. After 8 years living in London and 17 years living only in city apartments, owning none of my own furniture, I am now in a 15th century house by the sea. This change has been a long time coming for Josh and I, and it really took over the last few months, hence why you haven't seen me in a while. In today's video, I'm going to share all about how this move has inspired what I make and changed me creatively, but I'm also just really excited to share some lovely footage of our new digs because, I wish you were all here at the seaside with me. Lots to cover, so let's get into it. Before we get into makes, I'm just going to orient you quickly to where we are now and why we moved. I've moved from London directly south to the English Channel in East Sussex. Around me are places like Rye, of Merchant and Mills fame, Hastings, of Battle of Hastings fame, Eastbourne, Bexhill-on-Sea, and just lots of beautiful shingle beaches and gorgeous woodlands. At this distance, we can still commute to London occasionally, but both Josh and I had to make some major changes to our careers really over the last 2 years in order to get the flexibility we needed to do this. This change is impacting what I want to make in both some very basic and some very surprising ways. On the more practical side of things, I just need warmer clothes. The house itself can be very drafty, and even on warmer days, we're still using a fire in the evening. Actually, I think we're doing that pretty much almost every night. But on a more positive note, I'm just spending way more time outside than I used to. We go on beach walks, sometimes 2 or 3 times a day, regardless of the weather, even if it's raining or windy. And so lots of layers are really a must for me now. However, what's also really surprised me about the move is realizing how much self-editing I was doing when I lived in London. Now, to be clear, I still love London and I'm always going to find it to be a beautiful city. However, it's just not always appealing to wear your favorite outfit to a sweaty train commute. And as diverse and as vibrant as London can be, it can also be a sea of bankers in light blue shirts and navy gilets. Of course, that's not going to be reflective of all of London, but I do have to acknowledge that I just feel lighter here. For the first time, I actually feel completely at ease wearing whatever I want. Now, if you would have asked me 6 months ago, I think I probably would have said that I was already pretty much only dressing for myself. But now, with the benefit of hindsight, I can see how I was still editing. I was still filtering my makes, my wardrobe through that very specific lens of like, what does a competent, put together person in a competitive corporate job in a global city look like? Now I live somewhere where people don't ask or seem to care where I went to university or what my job is. I don't feel that same sense of like constant class and status signaling. The town I'm in definitely has its challenges, but folks really do seem more engaged and community minded, and I'm really excited to join them. Now, whether the pressure that I used to feel was real or whether it was imagined, dropping it has had a much bigger impact on me than I expected. I do feel a bit open to just being a bit weirder, a bit bolder, a bit more playful. And I think you're going to start to see that in what I've been making and what I want to make next. Now, of course, the move obviously meant that I took a big chunk of time away from sewing, just because everything in my life was in boxes. But I did make some pieces ahead of the move, which have already gotten loads and loads of wear. The first piece, probably my most favorite sewn piece, is this quilted jacket. I showed you this fabric a couple of years ago, and I knew that I wanted to make a quilted jacket with it, but I felt that a lot of them were quite boxy, and I wanted something a bit more sculptural. Fabric Godmother perfectly delivered on that with the Arle coat. The Arle is an unlined raglan sleeve coat with a fairly unusual angled back neck yoke and bound seams internally. The coat comes with deep inseam pockets, and for closure you can either do a wrap or copy me and go for the snaps. Sizing wise, the pattern is graded up to a 63-inch bust and hip, which we love to see. Now, in terms of coat making, this is actually pretty quick, especially if you don't use quilted fabric like I did. No fiddly lining, no welts, no buttons, no zips, etc. I would really recommend this as a first foray into coat making if you're a beginner, but the bound seams and the yoke construction make it more appealing and engaging even for a more experienced sewist. If you are precise and do some hand finishing in places, you can also make this one reversible. My version comes pretty close to being reversible, I'd say, but unfortunately, I think the reverse of this print makes me look a bit like a court jester. So I'm going to keep wearing it as intended. In summary though, love this coat and it's perfect as a wrap for those chilly evenings. Next up, I'm going to talk about 2 different knits before I go back to sewing. Firstly, for those who watched my November plans video, I showed you some bright neon orange yarn from Woolly Knit and talked about how I wanted to make a cable sweater. I'm very happy to say that I've delivered on this. I have it here on a hanger, but don't put your knits on a hanger. I'm just doing that to show you, which is this very, very vibrant and wonderful piece. This sweater is actually a test knit for Bailey of Engineering Loops, and it's called the Dara sweater. In terms of design, I would say that this is a pretty classic Aran cable sweater. It's knit at an Aran weight gauge on 5mm needles. To get gauge, I used 2 strands of that neon orange woolly knit British wool, and then I used a strand of Issei or Spinny just to hold it together to meet gauge, and that also softened the overall color. I say it softened it, I mean it's still really clearly blowing out on camera, but it is a really vibrant one. The pattern was, I would say, very nice, well-constructed, easy to follow. I'd say it was the most intense of the knitted garments I've made so far, but to be honest, I had really no issues. The test knit was super seamless and everyone ended up loving their finished item. I'm really proud of this project as just like a level up for my knitting, but do you know what else happened? Something very special. Josh and I go to a sea shanty night every few weeks at one of the pubs locally. And there is an active fishing community around us. They're kind of tight knit, maybe keep themselves to themselves a bit. But one of them complimented this red sweater. And it wasn't just any compliment. He called it a proper seaside sweater. I know that this isn't a true Gansey or traditional fishing sweater, but damn, a compliment on your cable sweater from a fisherman doing a sea shanty night in an old creaky pub. I feel like I'm done. I win. Like I never need to make a cable sweater again from now on. Now, in addition to my cable sweater, which I think is really fun to wear out, I also wanted to make just a much cozier, oversized sweater for wearing again in this very drafty house. Luckily, right when I needed it, another perfect test opportunity appeared. This is the super bulky raglan from Alicia Plummer. This, I would say, is a very, very basic raglan sweater. It knits up super quickly because it's on huge needles, 9 or 10mm. The pattern itself was really straightforward to make, and the only change I made was sewing down the neckline and having a folded neck rather than a high neck because I felt like that would be itchy on the chin. It's a really simple knit, definitely one that's designed, I would say in my case, to be more functional than flattering, but it has gotten loads of wear. I think that some weeks I wear this almost every morning. Now, in terms of the yarn that I used, this one was a huge stash buster for me. So to start, I have Normal Venus, which is here in the bluebell color, and a strand of knitting for olive mohair in the lavender blue. I had these for a different project that just didn't work out, so I'm happy that I got to use them. In order to meet gauge, I also added here 2 strands of woolly knit. This is I think it's their merino, and then a final strand of drops alpaca to finally get us to gauge. It took me a few tries, but I do think that the resulting color ended up very close to my inspiration, which was bluebells. Seeing a bluebell carpeted forest was one of the things I was most excited to see when I moved here, and the experience, honestly, a few weeks ago, it was everything that I hoped. They are so beautiful, but they are also so fleeting, and I feel like my sweater is just a lovely reminder of that moment and captures that point of spring. To end the make section, I'm going to share one final project, which was actually the first project I made when I realized the move was imminent. Super simple, but maybe even a little bit symbolic. These are the Chelsea pants, an athleisure pattern from my very favorite activewear pattern brand, Green Style. These flare trousers, I would say, are like an elevated yoga pant. They're designed for heavy knits with over 30% stretch, but rather than just looking like activewear, they have the top stitching along the front seam to give it more of a trouser feel. I made mine in a denim knit from Godmother, and I've worn them so much that I've already snagged them. I think I got lotion on them. They're definitely my most worn pair of trousers right now. Now, I feel a little bit silly calling a pair of trousers symbolic, but to be fair, nearly all the trousers that I've made in the past are super high-waist rigid denim. Those jeans were for like strutting to city cocktail bars, not sliding around in sneakers on a shingle beach. These trousers feel like the perfect compromise. They suit my 70s loving heart, but they just give me a bit more freedom, and freedom is what I'm all about right now. So now let's talk about what this newfound freedom means for what I'm making next. So now we return to the question of what I actually want to wear. What do I want to make and wear now that I don't have the constraints and activities or lack of activity of my London life? What's coming through most strongly for me right now is a desire to double down on more evocative pieces. I could wear leggings and dirty hiking boots to 80% of the places that I go to now. So if a project's going to be worthwhile, I want to be obsessed with it. I want local suppliers creating truly special products. I want lush color, I want unique prints. Nothing office friendly. In fact, I would say that I would go as far as to say that I want my clothing to be actively office hostile. I want to celebrate breaking free and the new life that Josh and I are building together. Or at least that's the intention. You guys can tell me if I've hit the mark. First, let's talk about fabric. I actually put myself on a bit of a fabric ban in the last few months just as we prepared for the move, which ended triumphantly at the Stitch Festival in London a few weeks ago, where I also, as an aside, got to say hi to some of you amazing subscribers. Thank you so much to everyone who came up to me. It was really, really fun to say hi to you. Now, first stop at the Stitch Festival was, of course, Stitch Fabrics, who are a really frequent spotlight on this channel for their incredible designer dead stock. I made two purchases from them. The first is this lovely linen blend fabric with a warm painterly floral. It's a lightweight fabric with great drape, but this choice was definitely driven by the color palette, which just feels so lush and so special to me. In terms of a pattern, I'm still kind of deciding what I want, but it's definitely going to be a dress, and most likely the heatwave dress from Les Pralines. I do feel like I'm in the mood to make something, really feminine, like a very girly dress, just because I haven't made something like that for a while. However, it's the second fabric that I got from Stitch Fabrics that I think you guys will really be excited about. I was able to get my hands on another one of their incredible painting style prints here, and you can see it's a lightweight, slightly sheer silk. There's quite a bit of structure to it though. Very much my special purchase of the day, and I really can't wait to use it. I'm thinking of making a simplicity blouse pattern with it just because I would love something like a statement blouse. A dress would be so incredible, but I feel like I would probably only end up wearing it once or twice a year. However, this is one of the very few times, like maybe once a year I do this, where I know I need to make a toile first. I don't usually try to do that, but I just can't mess around with a fabric that's this precious. It was also not cheap, so I can't afford to ruin it. Now, my last acquisition that I have to show you is another yarn purchase, and this is for a very special project. I really loved having the bluebells as my inspiration to kind of meditate on as I made the chunky blue jumper. So for the next one, I'm considering another favorite spring flower, the daffodil. I mean, to be fair, probably not just the daffodil, because there's loads of lovely yellow flowers that I'm excited to see every year. My goal here is to try to capture that first fresh burst of color that I miss all winter. To meet this need, I've acquired this absolute box of sunshine. This is a very special and very unique British wool from a company called the Wool Library. They are based up in the Lake District, and I believe that they're the first to turn this really hard-wearing, lofty Cheviot fiber into a chain yarn. And just look at it up close. It's really, really stunning. In terms of pattern, I think I'm going to go with one of the Free Filcolana patterns, the Feel Good Jumper. This to me feels really fun, really bright, maybe a little bit 80s, and I think it's going to be perfect for spring. It's also knit on really chunky needles, 8mm, so I know I can finish it before it's too warm to wear. Even though, I mean, let's be honest, I know better than to pretend I will never wear a warm sweater here during the summer. It can get quite windy. Anyway, I am so excited to cast that one on, and I'm expecting it to be one of the most special pieces in my wardrobe. I do feel the need to point out that this move has actually surprised quite a few of the people in our lives. I think there was this assumption that Josh and I were going to follow a pretty typical path, either fight for the London two-bed apartment or move to a new build townhouse in the commuter belt, and then we could keep walking down the career paths which were honestly quite clearly laid out in front of us 2 years ago. Josh and I heading for a slightly more economically deprived fishing town, I would say was not on anyone's bingo card. And I'd be lying if I didn't admit that it hasn't been easy. We've had to change how we work, how we spend time, and honestly, there have been many moments where I've wondered if we've just made life a bit too hard for ourselves by doing this. But as hard as it's been to figure out how to live in a house this old, to be somewhere so much less diverse than London, to try to make friends in a place where it feels like everyone's much older than us, to buy a car for the first time, none of this was as hard as sticking with the London life that we loved, but that we knew no longer fit us. So with that in mind, expect a bolder, more experimental version of this channel going forward. Expect more intensive and unusual projects, the most interesting local suppliers we can now drive to, and some even stronger opinions, which you guys never seem to mind. This spring is going to be about breaking free from expectations, some real, some imagined, that I didn't even realize that I was carrying. And guys, I want this for all of us. If there's been something you wanted to make but you held back for whatever reason, maybe now is the time. I won't comment too much on the broader state of the world. I mean, I don't think that you need that from this channel. But I will say, now is not the time to let whatever creativity and joy you've got left be even more constrained. If you fancy sharing what's on your mind for spring and what you're drawn to creatively, know that I'm going to delight in reading your comments. Either way, I've missed you. It's great to be back, and I can't wait to share what comes next. Bye.